recording.
Okay.
So this is part 4 of our little live get together tonight. Thanks to everyone for joining us in the chat room. We've got over 100 people here. 869 people have been through the session this evening, so that's a huge number of people. Thanks to everyone
cool.
for joining in. Thanks to everyone for sending the devices over. I want to thank Viliv, I want to thank Kojincha, I want to thank Conix, I want to thank Mobilex, I want to thank Dynamism, I want to thank everyone who ever clicked on an advert on the UMC portal, because that allowed me to buy a couple of devices as well. Right.
And same here. Thanks, Viliv. Thanks, people watching. Thanks, Asus, for not sending me anything.
Asus and Samsung, the two toughest PR nuts to crack. I also want to thank Freeplug, Runcore, who have been keeping me up to date with their SSDs and have sent me a couple to be testing out in devices. One I have in the Touch Note and one I have in the U2010. Talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I will actually be showing those next few days. So I now got the full pack of Runcore SSDs. Oh, you have even a shirt. That's cool. That's cool.
Right, next session is the wrong cam. The other 3 devices that I've got here. Starting off with the Kojincha, the SC3, which is one of the first ever Menlo-based devices to come out almost a year ago now, September last year, I believe. It's incredibly tiny. 7-inch screen, 1024x600, lovely clear screen on this, really beautiful. Built-in GPS, all the connectors and features you need, USB, VGA, headphone. There's the pull-out GPS with an external antenna capability as well. On the front, you've got some cool features like the radio on-off switch, which really helps if you want to just kill the radio to save battery. And this one also has SD and Express Card 34 slot as well. So this is the SC3, the old 7-inch tablet, which is available for quite a good price through some importance. I know Conix.net have it. Not very upgradable, although you can get direct to the memory on the SC3, but things like the hard drive require really taking apart the whole thing, laying it out till you get to the hard drive. Really nice build quality, good plastics, really solid convertible screen. It's glossy, unfortunately, but it's extremely bright. One of the brightest screens I've seen on a UMPC, and as I said, really high quality. Atom 1.3 gigahertz on this one. A very, very small keyboard, which is below the size that you need for any sort of touch typing. This is a PEC keyboard, and it's really actually quite annoying. You can't really use it for any length of time. You can just about thumb type on it, but it's still wide enough to be a little bit awkward on thumb typing. It's one of the really negative points I find about the SC3 is the keyboard.
So adapting to it will not be that easy.
Adapting to it has not been easy at all. This is a device that when you pick it up, it tells you it wants to work, do some hard work. It's got that netbook form factor, the laptop form factor. But when you kind of put yourself into those scenarios, it doesn't give you the sort of feedback that you need. It doesn't perform as well as you expect it to do. But the real main problem with this one is the battery life. So it's an efficient device, but it's an extremely small 20 watt hour battery on this. And there's 1 or 2 components in this that aren't really that power efficient. The Wi-Fi is not that power efficient. You can kill that battery in under 2 hours very easily. So that's another major issue with the SC3. Having said that, this does make quite a good car navigation unit, because it's got the GPS built in, it's got the keyboard, it's got a very bright screen, so it's pretty good for that. I've used it a couple of times. I've actually found it better than the X70 for in-car use. GPS is a little bit more responsive, and you've got the possibility to put the external antenna on it as well. So that's the old SC3, but look what they did with the updated version, which is the SK3. What they've done is basically chopped the battery off and relocated it on the underside. So now you've got the battery there rather than on the back, which makes it super small. And in fact, in tablet mode, it is almost all screen. It's extremely light. It's under 700. I can't remember. I think it's 690 or something. It's extremely light, and it looks really good because it doesn't have too much frame. It's got, again, the same high brightness screen, 1028 by 600, but it's got the same keyboard, slightly improved over the SC3, but the sizing of the keys is pretty much the same, and the mouse pad and mouse keys are the same. The features on the device are pretty much the same all around. PCI Express is still included. Micro SD card slot on the front, but I think that's the only feature that's different on this. So again, a good one for navigation, car navigation, although it's actually quite difficult to get a universal holder to clamp round it. Because of the battery on the SC3, it's really easy to get the a universal holder to clamp round it. So I think the SK3 for me is, it fails a little bit because it's got an even smaller battery. Again, it's slightly more efficient than the SC3, but it's still a 2-hour battery life device, and it's not a device you can really take out and rely on if it's only got 2 hours of battery life. So great form factor. If only they could do something about the keyboard. I don't know what they can do because there's physical limitations there, and the battery. But you can see how things are moving on anyway. So that's in 1 year they've managed to get the same battery life and chop 10-15% of the device off, which is pretty good. So we're getting close to devices that are going to be pretty much that thick soon, I'm sure. Maybe not with a keyboard. So that was a quickie on the SC3 and the SK3. Let me give you a quick sizing comparison with the Vilif S7. Quite a bit smaller on the S7. A little bit thicker, only millimeters in it, and a little bit lighter. I think about 100 grams difference. Not much, but it's because it's a nice small compact unit. It just feels a little bit smaller and lighter as well. Let's compare that with the again, it's tiny compared to the Touch Note, really tiny, but we shouldn't really be comparing these two devices because they're in completely different. Oops, that's it. The battery just fell off. Completely different category.
Yeah. But on basics, that could be really something if the keyboard would be better, and the battery life, of course.
Yeah, I think the battery life is the real. Let's just make sure this is locked. Yeah, the battery life is the real problem.
Killing it even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
If this was a 5-hour battery life device, which it won't be under any iteration of the Menlo platform, I don't believe, then you could maybe accept and start getting used to the keyboard, because you can peck it like this, and with Windows 7 it works. All the touch drivers work nicely, so the on-screen keyboard works as well. So with Windows 7 that could work.
Yeah.
The other thing about the device is it's got 1.8-inch SSD and a 1.8-inch hard drive.
HDD. Yeah.
And the 1.3 gigahertz Menlo platform is not really going well together with Windows 7. So if you upgrade from XP to 7, you probably will notice a bit of lag. And in fact, I tried the Runcore SSD in this one, and it really made it nice and usable. When I dropped back to the 1.8-inch hard drive, it was really, really noticeably slow. So Kojinshi, I mean, what they need to do on this one is drop a fast SSD in it as a standard build. Don't put a hard drive in it because we're moving to Windows 7 now. And just work on the efficiency of the device. If they can get this up to 4 hours, solve that hard drive problem, then it could make a nice little, Windows 7 convertible tablet.
True.
Right, and the last one I want to talk about is the old pièce de résistance, the ultimate UMBC gadget, the Fujitsu U2010, running a 1.6 gigahertz Atom processor. It's got 1 gig of RAM. This one has was it 1366 by 768 resolution? It's a huge resolution.
1280 by 800.
1280 800. It's a huge resolution, and you have to start tweaking XP and Windows 7 to actually start reading fonts on the screen. It's terribly high in terms of PPI or pixel density.
So this device in US is called U820. So this is the 18 model, but it's pretty much the same as the U820 in US.
Yeah. So this is interesting because it's a device that can actually be thumbed very easily. So I often use it like this. It's got a, I'm going to zoom in. I'm talking really quickly on this one because I just want to get things covered. There's a lot to talk about. It's got a mouse pointer on the top right, which allows you to...
Good one.
A really good one. It's tap to click as well, and mouse buttons on the left hand side. Let me just tweak in some video here. So you get a real good two-hand hand-holding experience with this. Fingerprint reader, which really helps with logging in. Under Windows 7 you can actually attach accounts to it. So for example, my Windows Live account is attached to my Windows 7 login. So one fingerprint swipe and I'm in, and I'm using Windows Live components without having to log in further. So it really does help. It's got other cool features like when you rotate the screen rotates back round, and you can use it in this mode again with the mouse button on the top right. You've got your everything's really nicely designed on this. So you've got the stylus in the right place. You've got multi-use programmable buttons here on the front and on the sides. It's nicely weighted. It's, I think, even lighter than the SK3 actually. 560 comes to mind, but I might be wrong there. But it feels very, very light. And what else can I say? Well, docking station. That's something that really, really makes a difference for me. And let me just zoom out there. So the docking station, which is actually quite a cheap option to buy with it. VGA, 3 USB, another USB on the side there, Ethernet,
charger,
power. Sorry?
Yeah, power.
Yeah. And it's lightweight and compact. You can actually take it apart and put it in a bag quite easily. So for like hotel weekend, business hotel weekend, this is perfect. If you're also hot desking and you've got the ability to attach to an external monitor, I've been running this one with a full HD monitor, 1920 by 1280 resolution, and it's been working. The only problems with the device are that it's limited to 1 GB of RAM. It's soldered memory, so there's no upgrading the RAM, which when you get to Windows 7 becomes an issue. It's also got a hard drive that's again a 1.8-inch hard drive. It's okay for XP, but it's not so good for Windows 7. So what I've done with this one is upgraded and left in the Runcore SSD, which has it's great now. Windows 7 starts up quickly, Windows and applications open quickly. It's really taken it to a new level now. Battery life on the device is difficult to say. It's one of these devices that if you leave it on the side, it will show you 7 hours battery life on the standard battery.
Yeah,
you start to use it, and within a minute, it's down to 3 hours battery life. I would say if you're using it hard, 3 hours. If you're using it intermittently, you could probably leave it on for a period of 5 hours and be using it within that period. Screen off. I don't know, you probably get 7 hours of the standard battery on this. It's amazingly well engineered. This one's got the Tokidoki cover that I showed you earlier. That's great, huh?
That's great, yeah.
Let's boot it up. I hope I've got power on this. I'm going to boot it up straight into Windows 7. This is a cold boot into Windows 7, I guess. Or did I put XP back on it? Can't remember. I was messing around with it last week doing some I've got XP on it now. I was messing around doing 3G streaming, video streaming, and Windows 7 wasn't playing very well with that. So that's booting into XP now. And we have the mouse pointer on the screen. No.
People asking how Windows 7 is running on 1 gigabytes, and I would say it's running nicely, that's for sure, but it can run even better because Windows 7 can actually keep some apps on the RAM and also share the dedicated memory to the graphics way better than Vista. So if you like to run Aero, more RAM is good. If you don't, then you don't necessarily need it. But if you want to open apps and close them, like open 10 different apps and close them all the time, then it's a different. If you just running browser and let's say Word and Excel, then it's not that big deal. But 2 gigs would be better.
Yeah. So that's booted up. I mean, I'm browsing already. It's so quick. I might actually stick with XP on it because I'm not needing some of the features of Windows 7 at the moment on this. There are some nice things to have, but when you use Firefox 90% of the time, just focusing on getting that working fast is the best thing, and XP Home is the fastest out there for Firefox. Oh, I can hear Linux people talking. So, actually I haven't got all the drivers installed, so the auto-rotate is not working on XP. I only rebuilt this last week. And the little headlights aren't working on this one either. I've got to put the drivers in. I haven't.
But they don't really give anything. The headlights, they're cool, but they don't really ease any. Hey, that I have to say actually about the S7 fastly, before I forget. Because S7 is white and the keyboard is raised. Actually, when I was using it outside in the dark, the screen nicely shines to keyboard, so you can actually see what you're typing. Where on the T91 you can't see anything. So just a minor detail.
Someone was asking earlier about backlit keyboards. I think we should have backlit keyboards on some of these UMPCs.
Really need backlit keyboards. UMPCs, netbook, all of them needs them.
Yep.
And the only device I have is actually the iGo, which is a slider, and the implementation on the white model is actually quite crappy, but on the black one it works fine.
Right.
And on my ThinkPad, my big laptop, it has actually keyboard light, not a backlit, but a light shining to the keyboard. So we really need those on netbooks too.
Yeah.
And this is of course.
Yeah, if you're this is what I use for my like outdoor when I go camping. Let me plug this in here. It's the old gooseneck LED lamp.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's good in camping, but not if you just bedroom surfing or you are going just outside.
No. Come on, if you're doing like extended bedroom session, it would. It's not so good for being on the side, maybe. Yeah.
Not maybe on a handheld.
Not in the handheld. Anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone needs an LED lamp.
Yeah.
When we were going to start,
is asking about the perform numbers about the S7. So any of the Believe devices don't actually show the discharge rates, so we can't measure it with perfmon. It's only showing percentage. So sorry about that.
I will do some estimates.
4 watts, screen down, Wi-Fi off.
Yeah,
5
maybe
maximum.
less. Yeah. It's going to be good, no doubt about that.
I want to show something soon because it's looking really good now compared to the T91. I'm both doing exactly the same stuff on both, and I really the battery life difference is huge. So
one device I haven't really talked about. It's kind of interesting, but this one actually only has an 800 by 480 keyboard. Let me switch cam.
Keyboard.
Sorry. Yeah.
Screen.
I got 840 by 480 keys on it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
This is something we looked at a couple of years ago at CeBIT, isn't it? or 18 months ago at CeBIT. It took them 18 months to get it into the market, and in that time it seems to have gone from what could have been a leading convertible netbook before netbooks even came out to something that really is not working in today's market. 800 by 480 screen, of course, is very, very limiting unless you have some specific uses. And in terms of design, what's the first thing you say about that? Screen frame. Although they've done some nice things with the screen frame, so fingerprint reader, optical mouse, left mouse button, speakers and cam, in terms of design, it's not going to impress many people. And they've even, where people want keyboards that go right to the edge of the devices, this one doesn't. So, it's just a couple of features. Plastic's a little bit too glossy, a little bit too cheap looking. Great battery life, great performance, easy access to hard drive and memory on this one. PCI Express slot. It's got a 4-cell battery as standard. But and it's got a good price. You can buy it without an operating system. So if you want to do some stuff with Linux, muck around with this device, with touchscreens and stuff like that, this is quite a good device to buy for that. But it's just lacking. That 800 by 480 it's a bit of a killer for this device.
Yeah.
It's a shame because it's 950 grams, I think, maybe even 980. So it's a lot heavier than the S7. It just doesn't look as slick. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot heavier. Yeah. It's a shame. That should have been out 2 years ago. But that's a Cleo TN70M style note. Right, let's.
And now I have an announcement to make.
Right, do you want to record this or?
No, not necessarily. This is just fun.
All right, let's just close the this section of the Ustream recording. So that was part 4. If you haven't watched them, part 1 was the unboxing of the S7. Part 2 was the S7 versus the T91. Part 3 was the Gigabyte Touch Note, and you've just been watching part 4, which is Kajinch SK3 SC3 style note and U820. Thanks for watching.